Bases dropped for another round of soccer down here. It's Tuesday Thoughts, and obviously opening kickoff. We're going to go to the college football X side of things in just a little bit for opening kickoff this morning. John here, Jarrett there. It's Tuesday Thoughts. We got stuff to talk about in the world of soccer, and I know that part of it is going to be the after effects of not having an afternoon drive show, which is something we probably should look into at this point. But yes, we're going to we'll look into the Gio reign a bit, where Gio decided to come back on social media. There's some stuff in Major League Soccer that was really interesting that came out. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Really profoundly, not surprising, but really disappointing stuff out of Iran from our friends at FIFPro. And we got, obviously, player movement and all that kind of stuff going on as well. But John here, Jarrett there, and opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's your QR code for those of you who are watching on Twitch. And don't forget, Kickoff Coffee CO. You can follow along on Twitter, on Facebook, and on Instagram. And use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase, and then they, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game. And that's the QR code from our friends at Kickoff Coffee. We'll bring that back up in just a sec. And, yeah, Turner, that was going to be the leadoff this morning. And news broke from the university for Mississippi State a little before 9 o'clock, literally like 8:58. And it was, sadly, the passing of head football coach Mike Leach. And it sucks. And, we kind of were looking at all of the information that was gleaned in the Clarion Ledger and all the local papers and things like that. And it looked like it was just something it was just too serious. And obviously, yeah, Coco, rest in peace to the Pirate. And, we were talking about it before we came on, Jarrett, and Mike Leach, one of a kind. I mean, dude had a JD from Pepperdine, didn't practice law, because he went to his wife and said, do you want me to make a lot of money and come home miserable, or do you want me to make less money and come home happy? And they decided on the latter. And then obviously going from Iowa Wesleyan all the way through to Mississippi State, I think it was safe to say that he made just as much as he could have with his JD in his career.
Yeah, he was an odd duck. It's weird because, you think about the last 5-10 years of his career, and it's been the time at Mississippi State, which, again, if you're not immersed in the college football world, there are times I think, trying to change things a little bit, and he kind of moved around on the scale. But there are editions of Mike Leach that are the most uncut, pure version of the Hal Mummy Tree air raid style that existed.
Yeah.
And what he did at Mississippi State has been, it's one of those things that, like, it's getting tougher to I think it's getting tougher to execute it because of the way athletes work these days and defensive scheme stuff. But, he had various amounts of success at Washington State, which is, not a place traditionally that success exists. It's very hard to come by there. He is the most, I think, John, correct me if I'm wrong, he's the most successful coach out of Texas Tech when he was there.
Yeah.
We remember the Graham Harrell, Michael Crabtree victory over Texas with 1 second left, but I don't think he had a losing record at Texas Tech. And he had a winning record in bowl games. They did really good work in Texas Tech in an era where it was dominated by Texas and Oklahoma. This is before Baylor was a functioning athletic department. This is before TCU was really a functioning athletic department. But he did
not have a losing record at Texas Tech. He was given the head coaching gig at the age of 39. And for a program that was just kind of hanging out in the Big 12, Mike Leach brought in the air raid and had one double-digit win season, although they did lose in the Cotton Bowl that year. But you're seeing 7, 8, and 9 wins across the board in a very difficult place to do it, in a difficult conference at the time to do it because of everybody else focusing on a bunch of other things. And then, Washington State, after a couple of hiccups in his first 3 years in 12, 13, and 14, 9, 8, 9, 11, where they win the Alamo Bowl, ranked 10th in the country too.
which again, winning in Washington State is not something that they actually had a really good year this year after firing Rolovich last year during the middle of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Rolovich decided to get really public and turn the vaccine thing into like a big issue, and then was fired for it. I think it was a state law issue out in Washington.
Yeah, it was, and he challenged it, and that didn't quite go well.
Yeah, and then the school said, "Well, that's the rule. That's what we're going to do." They actually had a pretty good year this year, from what I remember. But yeah, it's not a place traditionally you went there and won. It's a very unique system that wears out your quarterbacks because they're throwing 70 times a game. And if nothing else, it sucks for friends and family, because based on like the information that started coming out, it sounds like it was going to be a foregone conclusion when everything unfortunately happened to him and struck him at home, and it was a matter of making sure that friends and family got their chance to be with him and say goodbye, and he could be surrounded by friends and family. But that sucks. It's a tough time, man, in sports right now. We've had a lot of tragic moments in the last few days, even, and kind of getting tired of those.
Yeah, especially
love some good news.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then, all right. So then, let me. Then obviously, we may drift back into things because the way that the show always goes, it kind of veers in directions. But all right. So then, let me steer things a little bit. When we talk about the holidays, and I guess I know I'm doing a 180 on purpose this morning. When we talk holidays, I've always wanted to ask where you were with your decorating and where you are with your gifts and things like that. What I want to ask this morning, and literally this is just off the top of my head, is just something that pops in. Give me your favorite Christmas memory. Could be as a kid, could be as an adult, could be sharing one thing or the other. And so, I know I've kind of taken the opening kickoff and gone two steps with it this morning. But I want to know what's the favorite earliest Christmas memory that you remember?
Earliest or best/dumbest? Because there are two different answers here.
I'll take best/dumbest. That's all right.
Okay. Best/dumbest is like me at 16 years old. We got Christmas morning, got friends and family over, and my stepdad goes to pick up his son, my stepbrother. He had gotten a remote-controlled helicopter. My stepdad did, and he was very excited about this. I asked if I could play with it outside. He said, "Yeah, just don't do anything. Just don't break it." So he's messed with it for a bit. He goes to pick up his son. Myself and a friend of mine who was over with me proceed to take it outside and start flying it around. It's very janky. This thing is very defective. And proceeds to get stuck in probably 15 feet up in a tree.
Okay.
Not like a good climbing tree, like where like my giraffe-shaped body could climb up and get it down. Like it was basically a tall sapling, like not strong enough for me to climb it.
You still had to go get it though.
We spent 2 hours throwing all manner of things into that tree, trying to get that helicopter down in one piece. And proceeded to, by the very end of it, a friend of mine who was with me, who spent a stint at CSX eventually, remembered he had like 4 ratchet straps in his truck. So we hooked up my truck, like tied ratchet straps to the back of the truck, then to the tree, and then just like hooked it up on the driveway and just started pulling the tree over slowly.
There you go.
And then trying to shake it. At one point, we let the ratchet straps loose and created almost a catapult effect, which did not get the helicopter loose.
Of course not.
Eventually, we got it pulled over enough where I was able to take a larger stick and knock it out of there. At which point, the helicopter, after all of this consistent abuse, was dead. It didn't work anymore. So we had to stand in there on Christmas morning, heads bowed, as he got home, of Hey, remember how you told me not to break your helicopter? Well,
I
you got
broke
us stuck in a tree and broke your helicopter. To which he said, "Oh, that thing, yeah, it was defective when I was messing with it earlier. I was going to send it back anyway. That's fine."
Oh,
So,
man.
yeah, spent 2 hours getting a helicopter out of a tree like I was in some more like working blue language wise version of the Sandlot, trying to get the
I got
baseball.
your TiVo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, almost launched it like a catapult into the neighbor's yard. That part was fun. With a little 94 Chevy S10 that was just struggling.
Yeah. Airborne DJ Tom Russo's in this morning. He says his other half's a big time decorator. She'd just begun the process of Christmas decorating when she came down with COVID. Now our house looks like the Walmart Christmas decoration department had a giant bout of diarrhea all over the place.
I mean, I got some houses in my neighborhood that are the other day they looked like that. Then it was like the afternoon. You're like, God, what are y'all doing out there? And then you go out there at night. I'm like, oh, we're in Chevy. We're in basically Christmas vacation territory now. Damn.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. And yeah, Amelia, we're probably going to be circling in and around a lot with Mike Leach this morning. We talked about it a little bit off the top, but yeah, one of a kind. And yeah, we'll be circling in subtle plug for those of you that want more on college football. That's on the OSG Sports side of things. College Football X is up and running on the YouTube channel and on your favorite podcatchers as well. But yeah, Mike Leach, it sucks. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It sucks. 61 years old, gone too soon. One of the great personalities in college football. I mean, when you can
That's
go,
a good point too.
when you go to a sideline reporter, and this was from this past season, Alyssa Lang from the Four Letter had announced, from SEC Network specifically, that she's engaged and they're planning a wedding. And so Alyssa is doing sideline for a Mississippi State game. After the game is over, Mike Leach, knowing full well that she was publicly engaged and they had everything, geared toward a wedding date, goes on a dissertation to Alyssa, encouraging her to elope because it's too much stuff to figure out and trying to get at all of the wedding elements attached, all the parties and all the invites and all.
Show me the lie.
Yeah. Yeah. So he goes on a dissertation with Alyssa Lang. I would recommend that you elope. It's on YouTube. And a lot of folks have posted Mike Leach's greatest hits when it comes to press conferences and like the class. Yeah, the Candy interview definitely is an all-timer, Nix. And then
the candy corn.
yes, the ranking of Candy, and then the class I think that he taught, where 50,000 folks audited a class about military, the comparisons of military and college football. So
yes,
that was definitely something. But yeah, we'll probably end up circling in and around in a lot and working our way back through Mike Leach and all that kind of stuff this morning. But yeah, sucks, capital letters. So we've got stuff to talk about this morning. Obviously, actually, I guess I should kind of tag out the opening kickoff because we mentioned it, so we'll tag out with it. There's your QR code for those watching on Twitch. Kickoff, opening kickoff brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And don't forget, there's the QR code. And you can follow along Kickoff Coffee CO on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Use the code SoccerDownHere15. Thanks to everybody who has picked up your Kickoff Coffee that way. And they, in turn, take 10% reinvested into the youth game. Very, very cool stuff from our friends at kickoffcoffeeco.com. There's Elsewhere Brewing. If you have some PTO and want to kind of hang out and watch Jason in a corner gnashing his teeth for 90 minutes, hopefully for Jason's sake, not more than that, with Argentina, Croatia. We've got that to talk about today. If you did not get the chance to listen to Atlanta Soccer Tonight with Jason and Jess discussing it, it is up on the Off the Woodwork section at 92.9 The Game. You can listen to that as your primer. We're going to be live from there probably live inside from like 1 to 1:45, just kind of hanging out with everybody. And by then the lineup should be out, and we'll get ready for Argentina, Croatia, and that's the left-hand side of your bracket for those of you who have followed along the entire time. And that is your first semifinal in the host nation. Right now, Argentina, Jarrett, is a favorite. They're on the minus side at a minus 115, courtesy of our friends at in the composite odds portal. Your 90-minute draws a plus 235 if you believe that Croatia is just going to drag someone for 90 minutes plus. And then Croatia to win in 90 minutes just under a plus 400 at a plus 394. Early thoughts on that this morning?
So my favorite part of this is we literally opened the show talking about how we don't really have an afternoon edition for like to deal with the G Arena stuff. Oh, by the way, today we'll have an afternoon edition. It's just a lead up to a game.
Yeah.
Like I said yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and I stand by my analogy, Croatia is like a Sherman tank that you're just wondering how the hell it survived this deep into the war.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they have a brilliant tank commander. Luka Modric is absolutely brilliant. We're running out of ways to express this.
Yes.
All of that being said, it feels like maybe we're on like one of those potential, hey, Messi's got destiny on his side moments.
Hey, dude,
We thought we were there. We thought we were there against Germany a few World Cups ago. I don't actually know if it is a moment of destiny for Messi or not. But Croatia is so damn tricky, and they seem so impossible to kill. Like even the last World Cup final, if you remember in Russia, like France tried to kill them in the final, did a pretty good job, and then Croatia just kept trying to like. It was like killing a serial killer in a horror movie, like a slasher film. They just kept getting back up until France just finally just metaphorically dismembered them.
Interesting way to phrase it.
But
not wrong.
I don't know how you take down. I don't know how you stop Croatia because they just don't stay down. Well, it will be a very interesting game, and I want to see how everybody deals with it emotionally. Look, Croatia's coming off of an emotional win against Brazil in the shootout. God knows you don't really want to get in a shootout with them. You have a keeper who's on one, and they've taken great penalties. Argentina played one of the most emotionally charged World Cup games we've seen since England and Colombia. They got in a shootout. They have Emi Martinez. Like, how does everybody manage the emotion here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I know that no. Just we all talk about how we're all looking at Lionel Messi, and yeah, it's Lionel Messi. We want him to win because he's 35 and it's his last World Cup. Luka Modric is 37. So, for everybody who's sitting there looking at Lionel Messi, I mean, Luka Modric, who I would posit is probably thrown in some kind of a cryogenic chamber after each competition is over. So I don't think he's really 37. He's probably only 28 in like actual usage years. But I mean, just to see what Luka Modric continues to do, and you've got Perisic out on the left, you've got Livakovic in net, and you mentioned Emi Martinez, and obviously one of the great smack talkers ever in the history of being between the sticks. But you've got, and we talk about this in other sports, that when you have a playoff scenario, Stanley Cup final for me is the biggest example that I can come up with. When you've got a keeper who is out of his mind, you can be an 8 seed and you can storm through the playoffs. We're seeing that with Livakovic in Croatia. We're seeing that with Dibu Martinez and Argentina. And for me, it's been a treat to watch from the back and going forward, not just with the stars that we see with Modric pulling the strings and Lionel Messi being absolutely ridiculous on a 3-on-6 and creating a goal-scoring opportunity. But I start at the back, and I look at Livakovic and Dibu Martinez, and I've been enjoying that part of it as well.
Yeah, it feels like kind of potentially, not for sure, potentially kind of an inverse of what you might get tomorrow, because we know France's defense is both leaky and certifiably insane.
Friends.
We know the defense is insane. Talking about this with people, we were talking about this on Twitter with people during the France and England game, where it's like, I don't know if England's got another chance here. I'm like, oh no, France has another stupid moment in them. They gave up a free kick at the death that almost sent it to additional extra time. And it feels kind of like the potential inverse of that, where both these teams are pretty solid defensively. Croatia's a different animal for Argentina to have to deal with. They're not exactly going to be able to throw 2 6'6" Clydesdales on the field and just go straight down the middle.
Yep.
But give Perisic a side of goal and he'll hurt you. Give Modric a side of goal and he'll hurt you. Give Messi a side of goal and he'll hurt you. It feels like the kind of game that you could have multiple, like, hey, where were you when that happened kind of moments.
Yeah.
You have the players for that here, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, folks, for those watching on the Twitch pitch, go ahead and give me your predictions, what you think is going to happen, and give me a score, give me who scores, give me your layout of the match, since we're talking about it right now. Coco first in the door. Argentina drags this into the mud, and Messi scores a banger. I would think that Croatia would be the team that would drag it into the mud. But more
than how it's going.
Yeah, true. But I want to. I'll take a Messi banger, Coco. MESSI. Thank you. I will take a Messi scoring a banger. I will take that. I want that left foot, and then I want the curler that goes into the far corner. I'll take that.
Yeah, it's but at the same time, like, you can try and calm the ball it up. Croatia just got done with Brazil.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they already got some CONMEBOL blood on their knuckles.
Honorary CONMEBOL member, Croatia.
Well, it's not as strong as Japan as an honorary CONCACAF nation.
True.
And then we're getting a lot of 2-1s. I think personally we get extra time in this.
Yeah.
I could see it like 1-1 going into extra time, and somebody finds one in like the 117th minute where I feel like we've seen this in a couple of games now where, and look, as I know Messi's an older player, Croatia is too. Remember, Croatia at the end of their additional extra time game against Japan, Croatia was running out of gas.
Yes.
Japan had to carry the last 15 minutes of that game because Croatia couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
They let Japan have the ball, which isn't Japan's strength. Some of that is, you're saying, hey, Japan, you carry this because it's not your strength and we feel more comfortable defending you than trying to carry it and having to chase you on a counter. But all that being said, like, Argentina has a mixture of youth and veterans that I think you could potentially wear down Croatia, but we've seen it in a couple games now where you get to like 115th minute or so, and somebody just starts leaning on someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like Argentina was leaning on the Dutch, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see a situation where we're in another game where you're looking at this going, if it goes to penalties, where you get to like, if you get to penalties and you're sitting there thinking, hey man, another 2 minutes, they probably, one of those teams probably finds one because the other one was at the point of breaking. And I think Croatia would be the one to get closer to breaking if I had to put money on it, just because of the age. I think it catches up with some of them, and potentially the physicality that Argentina can bring. We know Brazil can get a little insane. We saw it in the last game where, like, if everything isn't going Brazil's way, they can get a little sideways in their own brains.
Yes.
And they get a little fighty, and they get a little chippy. Mm-hmm. Argentina can do that too, but I think Argentina can control the emotion better. They
Yeah.
can bring that physicality and that chippiness, but they can control it more efficiently.
Ask the Netherlands about that. Yeah. Throwing pencils and things that write on paper at
Yeah, and
scrum.
Coco's right. Yeah, they'll put stud like yeah, he's right. Argentina will put studs in your legs.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Brazil will too. But I think the difference is, and you can ask Jason about this today. I think the difference because I'd love to hear his take on it. I think the difference is when Brazil puts studs in your legs, they get up and they've lost their mind and they're insane. It's kind of like Orlando in the playoffs when they go crazy.
Yep.
I think Argentina can do it and walk that line. They can ride that edge and still maintain their sense of self.
So you're saying that they're more Philadelphia than Orlando?
Yeah, they're in which both of them are comfortable doing that.
Mm.
But I think they're a little more. I think they can keep their brains about them a little bit better.
All right. So we got early predictions. Knicks 2-1 Argentina extra time, and then Knicks followed up a little bit after this prediction. And then Sean wants Argentina to win, but he thinks Luka Modric takes him to the final 2-1. So then, of course, Knicks and full respect drops Thiago Almada into the discussion. Young buck Thiago Almada off the bench to win it. Oh my Lord! If that happened at SDHHQ,
If that happens, if that happens, dude might get sold after the game.
it's like
Like Garth's gonna be like fielding offers after the
yeah,
game.
it's like please hold. You see like the old school phones with all of the hold, like a sports talk radio with all of the lights just kind of sitting there blinking and they're all on hold. It's like, please hold for Mr. Lagerway. Yeah. Line 2, please hold for Mr. Lagerway. Line 3, please hold for Mr. Lagerway. You just have going all the way through. Yeah. Coco. Thiago gets sold on the plane back and the plane has to change course. The man gets his own plane. That's what would happen. Thiago Almada, it's like, all right, so we're going to have to change the flight plan. So we're all chasing it on FlightAware, and then all of a sudden you see it take a right-hand turn.
You might be able to find odds on Almada scoring in this game, but they're going to be dumb odds. Like they're going to be like, hey, so you want to throw whoever you get that to might just send you a message saying, if you're trying to just give money away, you can just give it to me. It's okay. Just donate it.
Right. I'm sitting here trying
to not even banking on Almada getting on the field, much less much less like scoring in the.
Okay, so I'm gonna. If anybody can find on the juice boxes individual scores, odds for scorers. If I could spell scorers in Argentina, Croatia. See, this is beautiful live radio here. Betting on goals, cards, corners, individual numbers, team news and injuries. Okay, so goal scoring odds. We only go 5 deep at least. Well, let's see. Let's see what our friends at I don't want to play. I just want to watch. It's like where do you want to play? It's like no, I don't want to play. I just want the numbers. Individual scorers. Okay, here we go. You got first goal scorer. First goal scorer, anytime goal scorer. All right, so here's where we're looking. Let's see if we can find individual goal scorers. Okay, so this is in European, I believe, numbers. Obviously, Lionel Messi, first goal scorer is the lowest odds at a little over 4-1. Anytime goal scoring is just under 2-1 for Messi. Julian Alvarez is a close third. So Lautaro Martinez, Julian Alvarez, Paulo Dybala, Alexis McAllister. That's an interesting one. Oh, Enzo Fernandez 7-1. That Enzo is an anytime goal scorer. Thiago Almada slightly less. Thiago Almada just under 7-1 odds, courtesy of our friends at Sports Interaction, if I'm reading this correctly. Just under. Thiago Almada's odds to be an anytime goal scorer are less than Enzo Fernandez. That's an interesting one. I mean, it's slight, but still.
Okay, that's unexpected.
Almada is number 10 in the Argentina list. Enzo Fernandez is number 11 in order of odds here. So, yeah, Thiago Almada is your number 10 goal scorer anytime in the game. Yeah, this is anytime in the game anytime in the game. So it is I'm going to post this link in the chat so you guys can sit there and look at it yourselves at any point that you wish. This is where I got my information. So there you go. Almada, number 10 on the list, anytime goal scorer for Argentina. Ahead of Rodrigo de Paul, ahead of Otamendi. I mean, there's a lot of other names on this list, ahead of Tagliafico and Lisandro Martinez. But, yeah, obviously Kramaric is looks like Kramaric is number top 4, I think. So Laveja, Petkovic, Budimir, Perisic. Perisic is listed at number 5, which is interesting to me. Luka Modric is down the chain a little bit. He's still obviously top. He's number 11, number 10 out of 11. But, yeah, right now, that's your numbers. Emi Martinez. All right, so let's see if Emi Martinez has a number. Let's see. Goalie goal does not exist at Sports Sports Interaction, which is where we are digging up our numbers this morning. So there is no goalie goal that is listed at the moment. Yeah. So Coco, if you want to be like Jarrett and just kind of throw, juice box like stinky elderberry juice box with the expiration date having passed about 90 days ago, if you want to do that on Emi Martinez, to do that maybe in the shootout, that might be the way to play there. So check the numbers, and random plane turns around in the Atlantic. That's what would happen. It could be worth the $10, Sean. You are absolutely correct when it comes to Thiago Almada. Could absolutely be worth the $10 if you can find an online juice box purveyor to dance with you and sit there and I know, Bern. Yeah. Like I said, Almada doesn't start, Fernandez does. Absolutely. No, I was not approaching this with any kind of logic whatsoever. I was just reading the numbers. And, of course, it's me, so I could be reading the numbers wrong. But if I read them anywhere close to being correct, Thiago Almada ahead of Enzo Fernandez in the odds to score a goal. Would not have had that on my bingo card today. Nick's looking at the numbers. Molina, who has scored in the World Cup, has a higher number. Coco, yes, they do. Coco, yes, they know something. They always know something. Anytime juice boxes are involved, they always know something. Keep that in mind. Yes. That is, Sean, it should be like 800 to 1. Yeah. But, if you want to throw something in there at just under 7 to 1, I think it was like 6.9. Yeah. Find a juice box. If someone's going to be higher than 6.9 for Thiago Almada, throw an old juice box on it. Go for it. I neither can, like I said, I would probably do something off the rails because, I was throwing stuff out of the cabinet in the fridge yesterday that had expiration dates of July. And it's been worse in the fridge in the past. So, no, I'm right there with you with the old stinky juice box and the old stinky muscle milk and all that kind of stuff. Trust me, I'm right there with you. But, those are your numbers. According to our friends at Sports Interaction, Thiago Almada's at number 10. And so
just don't fall in love with it.
No.
He doesn't start. We've only seen him once. Don't fall too far in love with it just because there are numbers there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But, Luka Modric, number 10 for Croatia to score a goal at any time. Thiago Almada, number 10 to score a goal for Argentina at any time. So that was an interesting rabbit hole to go down this morning. Not necessarily a surprise, but so that's Knicks. I mean, but still, it's you know me. I mean, honestly, to be perfectly honest, Nick says if you're throwing stuff out with 2022 expiration dates that's barely expired, I trust that. Trust me, I normally operate that way. But if it is a milk-based product, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to go down that road. And there have been times earlier this year emptying out the fridge when you sit there and you stare at something and you go, that's been in there for a long time. Swear to God, hand to my heart, palm in the air. I had a 2014 that I threw out of the fridge earlier this year. Seriously, I had a 2014 that I threw out. Mm-hmm. So yeah, if I'm to that point now where if there's anything, Coco, you know me in fridges. And look, I am very, very ready-made when it comes to food. It's like it's got to be right out there in front of me. If it's something in a fridge, look, if it's a leftover, it gets eaten. If it's, something in a glass container or a plastic container, I'm not really going to be chasing after it a whole lot. No, and I can understand, Coco, the desire to get me on a semester schedule for cleaning out the fridge every May and December. Time for the finals, John cleans out the fridge. I get that. It is the holiday season. We need probably more room in the refrigerator for parties so we can put perishables in there for the party and hope that they get consumed. But then if they don't get consumed, now, Jared, this is a question that I have, considering that I don't drink beer. When it comes to beer and having it out in the environment as opposed to the fridge, what's a good sign? What's a good expiration date or a good length of time to have beer just kind of hanging out in the garage?
It doesn't last that long for me, and if it does, after a month or two, I just forget about it and don't worry about it. Like I'm not a good answer on this one because garage is always a great place for anything because it's cold at this time of year. So if I'm sitting there and like I don't have room in the fridge for this, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just gonna set it in the garage and leave the garage door cracked just a little bit so the cat can get in and out, and then I have stuff that's cold. Let nature take care of it for me.
Yeah. So Nick's basically what you're saying is that the Guinness that I have in the garage is bad and I shouldn't open it and should throw it away. I guess that's what you're getting at, Nick's. In the garage in the elements, hot, cold, not great. Coco, yeah, well, Coco, it's ugly. And full disclosure, I have both Dallas Television and the Weather Channel up right now because of everything coming this way. And the Metroplex is getting hit pretty hard right now, tornado warnings and all that kind of stuff. And then Weather Channel keeping a larger picture about what's going on in the upper Midwest with all the snow. Nick's. And Nick's traditionally, I'm with you. Nick says that the beer in the garage is worth a taste test depending on how much it is. So, all right. So, Nick, what you're saying is that there should be a direct proportion between the desire to sample something that has been by itself and the amount that you spent on it. So, if it was like Old Mill's Best or Busch Light Draft, and it's been in the garage for a while, don't sample it. But if it's Guinness or something higher end, go ahead and sample it. Is that what I'm hearing here? When it comes to sampling things that might have been left alone for too long?
Well, and some of this is even about sampling. It's about like, hey, did I invest like a significant amount of money in that? Is that a more expensive or a craft brew versus is that a case of Natty Light? Because I'll let that go.
Okay. Yeah, because I was trying to determine value here. And so, okay, cost and amount. Okay, so you're saying it's the cost and the bulk purchase. So if it's like a couple of bottles left over from a party or a couple of cans left over from a party and it's Busch Light Draft, you're like, nah, forget about it. But if it's like a 6-pack of bottles of something expensive like Guinness or Stella or something like that, then you probably should continue to check it to see if it's okay. So I just want to make sure, because like I said, I don't drink alcohol. I leave that to everybody else. And so I'm trying to understand, because we do have holiday parties coming up, and as a part of this, we will have leftovers. We will have, emergency drinking beer left over. We probably will have some sweet water left over. And I've got to, yeah, and I'm right there with you, David. But traditionally, it's left in the garage, so there really isn't a whole lot of light. The heat might be the other part. David, light and heat are bad for beer. Light's the worst. If it's in cans, you should be good for a long time. Unless it's a local brew with no preservatives, you should be good with cans for a while. Okay, because like I said, in the garage, literally we have a 6-pack of Guinness bottles plus some emergency drinking beer. And I know this is going to sound like plugs for local breweries, and some Sweetwater. And I was just wondering what the shelf life is on something like that. Yeah, David. Well, but which World Series? David, if I break out the Braves World Series beer, the guests might know that it's aged. Which World Series? Last year's World Series or something like that?
Well, if it's a Braves World Series, that's fine. That's a year old. If it's a Mets World Series, which for those of you that don't know, was 1986 was the most recent. Like, that's an important fact people should know.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a little bit older. That one might be a little skunked.
Yes, and yeah, the 1995 beer from the Braves. No question. I think that one might be a little. That might one be a little out there, but I still
a 1914. This is a Rabbit Moranville edition.
Yes, it is. it's a Rabbit Moranville Samuel Adams, and that way it's stuck. But no, I mean, legitimately, I'm the guy that will sit there with the sodas specifically, and if it's a bottle, if it's a commemorative bottle of something, I'll be the guy to sit there and buy one and have it, because I have some in the office upstairs. I've got some cans from national championships over here in Office HD. I'm that guy. I'm not going to crack open the sure, Coco, we can talk baseball down here. And considering I think that yeah. But it's been, and I think, Nick's, it's been there for a little more than the summer, especially both bottles and cans. Jarrett, you're the baseball expert. Coco wants to talk about how the Mets have a record payroll. Only state it's the third best team in the East, and the Mets just signed somebody else for $80 million. So
yeah, they signed a pitcher out of Japan for $80 million. So here's the thing: the Mets,
if I remember right,
the Mets spent a ton of money basically replacing guys and re-signing guys. They've made some I think they've made some impressive moves. They might make more, but the biggest moves they made, like they brought in Verlander, great. You also lost Jacob deGrom. You brought in Robinson. Okay, well, Ottavino rocked. So you were replacing like for like. Now, it might be an improvement on what you have, but you're not adding to. You are replacing a part. That part might be better, but you're not adding a part without losing one. So there might be some gain, but not as much as if you would also kept a guy like deGrom.
Yeah.
Assuming deGrom is able to stay in one piece for a significant amount of time, which he has not been able to do. And then you re-sign Nimmo for like $160 million. So, I mean, at the end of the day, I tell you what, Atlanta looks really smart for signing all those those extensions during the season, locking up guys for under their market value, or what you expect their market value to be.
Yeah.
Mets might be in on a guy like Correa, though. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I think it is funny, though, genuinely, that they put this luxury tax in place for Steve Cohen, and he saw it as a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of where it's at. Like, okay, well, you can't go over this amount. He's like, yeah, hey, watch this. I'm going to go over that amount.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And Tom Russo admits the East will be wild. And Coco, once again, the NL East still isn't over, Sal.
It's really not.
No. And David, to your point, birthright. See, so I'm Canadian. Well, kind of, sort of. Birthright requires a garage fridge for beer and soda. We have coolers. Since we're in the southern United States, it's coolers, not a fridge. And full disclosure, yes, I do have. Yes, I did spend time as a Canadian correspondent down here in the States for a network. And yes, I do love Hockey Night in Canada. And you give me something obscure in hockey, and I'll go for it. But not until after the first of the year, because right now we're still in the regular season. Wake me up when we get closer to the playoffs. By the way, if you're here locally, I think it's Friday night. Very, very cool thing that the ECHL franchise, now owned by Anson Carter, is doing. The Atlanta Gladiators, in their 20th year, are celebrating the Atlanta Thrashers. They got the express written consent of National Hockey League folks to bring back the logos and the look for one night only. So if you are anywhere, and I can't because I have another commitment, but yeah, get your tickets. Go see the layout. I think they're bringing back.
Well, okay, this is an important question.
Uh-huh.
What jersey are we bringing back?
I think it's not it's not Defender Thrash. It's not the Defender.
Is it Blue Land?
I think it's the Blue Land jersey.
Because the Blue Land jersey is S tier of soccer jerseys of all time.
Yeah. So it's because
as opposed to like the burgundy one they wore in the early days, where like Dean Sylvester was like an assistant captain.
Right. So let me check. So it says Believe in Blue Land. I've gone to the website, and they've done some stuff on social media laying out what it's going to look like on the night. So since it's not cooperating on the front page, we'll go to the Atlanta Gladiators on the Twitters and see what it looks like. But yeah, they did some stuff that was laid out, and it's looking pretty sweet. And man, it's loud. Right in my ears. Okay, so no, it is the burgundy top. It is it is Defender Thrash.
It's not my favorite. I'm glad they're doing it ultimately. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, it's cool that they're doing it.
Yeah.
The burgundy top is not my favorite. Like, again, Blue Land is one of the best looks in the modern NHL.
Yeah. So
fight me if y'all want to. That's fine. I don't care. The Blue Land look was absolutely S tier.
Absolutely. And so it looks like they're bringing back Defender Thrash, the burgundy shoulders, and the current Gladiator logo is on the shoulder point. And yeah, so Defender Thrash is coming back, and it's going to be this Friday night. So for those of you who remember Blue Land and want to go see Defender Thrash being worn in the East Coast Hockey League, please do that. Yeah, so yeah, the promo shots had the burgundy. So so go if you can go, because and Turner, you are absolutely correct. The best goal horn in the National Hockey League. The best goal horn in the National Hockey League. It's very rare that you can have something that will spew fire and you have a goal horn that's absolutely ridiculous. I love that. Did I tell my wedding story having to do with the Thrashers? Did I ever tell that wedding story?
You told it to me.
Okay.
We're running out of time. Knock it out.
Well, because you got to go. Yeah, I know they could. Okay, so here's what happened. Part of La Familia, part of the OSG SDH group got married, and it was during the playoff series with the Rangers and the Thrashers. So, and it was in the home game in Phillips Arena. So we're all watching in this venue. We're watching the game, and it's late third period, and the wedding time is approaching. 12-year-old bartender, God rest his soul, rest him, God bless him. He's behind the bar, and we're getting closer and closer and closer to the time of the wedding. So as Atlanta adds a man and is trying to go, the extra man to try to score, to equalize and do whatever, kid turns the TV off. He turned the TV off with the Thrashers trying to get an equalizer late against the Rangers. We all start screaming at him, and we're going, no. I know it was a bad playoff series, but we're like, no, the bride wants that on. And so the 12-year-old behind the bar is like, no, the bride wants it turned off. And I looked at him, I'm like, oh, no, you are incorrect, sir. The bride wants to know what's going on with this game. And he stood fast. And then I told the bride after the wedding ceremony, and she was hot. She was angry that the Thrashers game was turned off at the bar.
Was that the game where I can't remember if it was Lettinen or Moose was in net, where the Rangers scored a goal just basically trying to clear they dumped the puck down the ice to change their lines. It bounced off the boards and went in.
I think it was Moose Hedberg. Yeah.
Which is the moment where I realized, man, they're getting swept.
Yeah, they are.
When that happens, you're getting swept.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we had a young bartender anger an entire wedding party by turning off the game at Phillips Arena. Yeah, it was Moose in game one, according to David, and Tom Russo and David with their memories. Tom says, it hit a stanchion. And then, it was Moose in game one was when that happened. So there you go. You turn into a pumpkin, yeah?
Correct.
Okay, so you'll be back tomorrow, and we'll be discussing more stuff like what happens in the game this afternoon, and getting ready for Morocco and France, which has a lot of political overtones, which I'm sure that you can bring that to the table.
Buddy. There's going to be a lot of overtones there, but never forget, it took Morocco a week to take over the Iberian Peninsula. It took Rome 200 years.
Mm-hmm.
Good job, Morocco. We'll see you.
Nice. Atlas Lions. There you go with Jarrett. So since it is the leaving of Jarrett, and like I said, we've got some other stuff to talk about here. We got player movement in Major League Soccer, all that kind of stuff. And so Turner, Ricky brought up a good point in the Discord. Fitting that Mississippi State's bowl game's in Tampa. Stadium has the pirate chip and the pirate branding, no doubt about it. David, was that the only 2 playoff games in Thrashers history? Sucked. It was loud. Remember the Hawks players at the game and just how, because when that building was packed and it wasn't all, like if it was a Rangers game, because there were a lot of Rangers fans there for those 2 games. It was a lot of Rangers fans there. Next we're getting into that. We're getting into that, no doubt, because we have to rehash the return of all of that stuff. Like I said, since we don't have an afternoon show, even though we probably should, we have to, in the interest of equal time, discuss Gio Reyna. We'll get into that. We'll get into Bournemouth. We'll get into MLS player moves, gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and all that kind of stuff. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about here in hour number 2. But as I sit here and look for the music and turn the music, what did we say, guys? 19, I think was what we said. So we'll go 19, we'll go rock, and here we go. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's Lemonize Service. Lemonize Service, proud sponsors of everything STH. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos, they've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pets, cigarettes, and food. Realtors and property managers use Lemonize Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process, makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment, offering a green way to get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or above us in the cupboard, because when we reach above us in the cupboard or below us under the sink and we take out that masking agent and spray it in the air, there's a reason they call it a masking agent, because it just masks the odor. It doesn't attack the problem all the way down to the molecule like our friends at Lemonize do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, either by cubic feet or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. Any questions frequently asked or otherwise for our friends at Lemonize, here's where I grab my pen. Go to the website, lemonize.com, but do us a favor after the .com, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from so they can help tackle your problems. Your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com /Atlanta, lemonize.com /Atlanta. Lemonize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH on a Tuesday. There really isn't such a thing as a tight fade for that. But once again, reminder, Elsewhere, live show there at Elsewhere, starting about 1 o'clock. Come and have some lunch with us so we can have some lunch with you and get ready for Argentina and Croatia. The lineup should be out, so we'll be able to talk about that. Other stuff on the network, we're going to catch up with the province's J.J. Adams about the new Canadian Women's Pro League and what the vibe is about the men's national team after things have kind of settled down a little bit. Group stage is over with, and we're down to the Final Four. So we'll have that interview posted probably later today, maybe tomorrow, like later this afternoon. J.J. Adams from the Province newspaper up in Vancouver. We'll catch up with him and find out what's going on with all of that. Okay, so in requests, we're going to talk about the dumpster fire, about that. Turner, you should be salty about the Thrashers leaving because the commissioner, who has now passed his 30th, I think he's passed 30 calendar years, is more than happy to have the Arizona Coyotes in a 5,000-seat venue on the campus of Arizona State University while they sort out an arena issue for multiple seasons and have fights where people actually lose fingers in an arena called Mullet Arena. But you don't want to put a team in Quebec City, and in a top 10 media market, but you're more than happy to have a struggling franchise in the Phoenix area wait it out. I get it. I see that. I guess turn of the answer is no. We can't have national team drama for a day. All right, so let's see. Yeah. Don't get me started about Atlanta Spirit. Do not get me started about Atlanta Spirit. That is an entire show in and of itself. Atlanta Spirit down here is probably at about 2:00 in the morning on a Wednesday, and it will be going up right up until SDH kicks off at 7:05. Good OG. Gio's response seemed sincere, just couldn't help but feel like he was being the brat in the situation, and I'm no 3G apologist. No, I have not seen that particular video about the team. And yes, brat, not brat. Yes, brat as in spoiled child, not a German sausage. Nix, you can parse things, I think, what happened over in Qatar and what has happened since. And so let me go and grab the statement that was made. But once again, the notion that that you want to come out and say things, and then the back and forth continues, and it continues, and it continues, and it continues, and it literally is tiresome. So on Gio's Instagram, on his IG, hope not to comment at team at the World Cup. My belief that things happen in a team setting ought to remain private. That being said, statements have been made. Reflect on his professionalism and character, so he felt the need to make a brief statement. Just before the World Cup, he was told that his role at the tournament would be limited. He was devastated. I mean, if you think about it, and, we can break this down paragraph by paragraph, he wasn't going to play in the left because that's going to be Christian Pulisic. Wasn't going to play in the midfield because I think that was MMA. And, he wasn't going to start unless he really showed something during practice. And then on the right-hand side, we saw that, Timothy Weah was doing pretty well. So I think it was going to be a minutes issue from the beginning for Gio Reyna. Back in. Devastated. I'm someone who plays with pride and passion. Soccer is my life. I believe in my abilities, fully expected, desperately wanted to contribute to the play of a talented group as we tried to make a statement at the World Cup. Paragraph 3. Also, a very emotional person, fully acknowledge I let my emotions get the best of me and affect my training and behavior for a few days after learning about my limited role. I apologized to my teammates and coach for this, and I was told I was forgiven. Thereafter, I shook off my disappointment and gave everything I had on the field. Disappointed that there is continuing coverage of this matter, as well as some highly fictionalized versions of events, and extremely surprised anyone on the U.S. men's staff would contribute to it. Coach Berhalter has always said that issues that arise with the team will stay in-house, so we can focus on team unity and progress. I love my team, love representing my country, focusing now only on improving and growing as a soccer player and a person. I hope that going forward, each person involved in U.S. soccer focuses on only what's in the best interest of the men's national team so we can enjoy great success at the World Cup 2026. Okay, so that's your 4 paragraphs from Gio Reyna. You look at that and burned. Guys, his agents wrote that probably because Dortmund told them to, that truly injured party and all of this. His transfer fee just went down by $20 million, no doubt. No question that his value decreased severely with all of this. And then this morning, and obviously, once again, Sebastian Kell said that, let me see, of course, if I can find it, because you click something and it just kind of goes away. Sebastian Kell came out and said some positive things, obviously, about Gio Reyna. And so here we go. The reporting on Gio Reyna has surprised us a lot. We see him as a good guy who works professionally and is a valued member of the dressing room. The fact that this is now in question is incomprehensible for us at BVB and does not do justice to Gio. So that was the Dortmund sporting director, Sebastian Kell, speaking out. And once again, to Burns' point, morning DM Tim, to Burns' point, yes, Dortmund, they're going to say that because they don't want any more damage to their asset. But, if you think about it from a numbers game and a perspective, it was going to be difficult for him to start under normal circumstances, considering the layout that we saw of the men's national team. And so it was going to be up to Gio Reyna to continue to be a professional at that point. And then yeah, I know. Yeah. Dortmund said that? No, never would have guessed. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, you have the opportunity to react in one of two ways. Gio Reyna acted in a way that now has damaged him as an asset. And the notion of things being said publicly, remember, it was CharterWorks that published the transcript, and Berhalter also did not mention the player by name. Yeah, I mean, you could intimate from A, B, and C who it was, but once again, according to U.S. Soccer, this was supposed to be off the record, and this is going to be the last time that probably anybody is going to be speaking to CharterWorks, and unless it is in writing in massive paragraphs that something like this is going to be off the record. Berhalter thought it was off the record. U.S. Soccer thought it was off the record. It was published, and then the intimations continue and all that kind of stuff. Okay, yeah, there you go, Nick. GR, him, that guy. So, yeah, now you wonder what the future is, and so we'll just see like everybody else. So that's the 5 or 6 minute version of your update in USMNT drama down here. And so we'll wait and see what the next piece of drama is. A couple of other interesting things yesterday. There were some signings in Major League Soccer. And one of them, Jonathan Osorio sticks with Toronto FC. And Jossie Zardes goes to Austin. And that is an interesting pickup, I thought. I mean, obviously, Osorio, who has been a part of the program there at Toronto, he's been a part of the growth, and he's made his way up through the system, and he's been an integral part of what's gone on at TFC, so he's going to stay. Jossie Zardes makes his way to Austin for his next stop. So Josh Wolf and Jossie Zardes now in Austin. And no doubt, Nick, that is absolutely true. Enough drama in USMNT it could have been, yeah. And so, could have been avoided. But Jossie Zardes now in Austin, Texas for Austin. So that one was a very, very interesting one as well, coming across the board yesterday. And remember, we still have another couple of weeks before the January window opens up. And Zardes, 31, signs through 2025, option for 2026. And he was on with the Rapids after the midseason trade from Columbus Crew. So 3 goals shy of 100 during his Major League Soccer career, which began back in 2013. 13th all-time in the category. 97 goals, 25 assists, 267 regular season appearances for the Galaxy, Columbus, and Colorado. 2 MLS Cup appearances, 2 MLS Cup winning teams, 2014 Galaxy, 2020 Crew. MLS Comeback Player of the Year 2018, 19 goals, working with Josh Wolf, who was an assistant at the time in Columbus. 14 goals, 68 international appearances, helping the men's national team win Gold Cups in 17 and 21. Last appeared in January during the World Cup qualifier in Canada. And the quote released by Josh Wolf, having worked with Jossie in the past, couldn't be more excited to have him join the team here in Austin. Quality, humility, and work ethic as a striker fit our system well. It's fantastic to add another player with his level of MLS success to our locker room, end quote. Austin have Sebastian Driussi, Musa Jite, Maxi Arruti were the big strikers last year. You add Jossie Zardes to the mix this year. Should be interesting as Austin tries to really push and make their way to the last game of the year in Major League Soccer. Just remember, also, Super Draft is in a week's time, so we'll see what happens there. What folks have circled on their draft trackers and things like that. So we'll keep an eye on that. Also on the board this morning, it's officially official. I know I'm kind of skipping from one coast to the other. So it means, okay, so that means in David's mind that you're calling for a trade. Berhalter to Austin, Josh Wolf to the USMNT. Bournemouth, the sale is over. It's completed. Bill Foley has taken over in the takeover for Bournemouth. And for those that were kind of keeping an eye on the bottom part of the Premier League, at the Vitality with Maxim Demin trying to sell the club, Bill Foley had shown an interest, and he and his partnership Black Knight FC have completed their takeover, excess of $100 million, 100 million pounds. Only 100 million pounds for Bournemouth, the team that's kind of one of those tweeners that we talk about in the Championship and working their way Championship and the lower end of the Premier League. And that to me is that's honestly, that's probably a bit of a bargain, I would think. But unless the Demon is just trying to dispose of the property in and of itself, 100 million pounds for a Premier League team to get into that market with that kind of a price, that's pretty strong. Boxing Day, remember, in a little under 2 weeks, and you've got seven matches on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. But right now, Bournemouth is in 14th, broke a 4-game losing streak, played 15 matches, 14th, but they're only 3 points out of the relegation zone. Pretty much right now, everybody from, let's say, 14th to 20th, Bournemouth, Leeds, West Ham, Everton, Forest, Southampton, and Wolves are only separated by 6 points. So you get a good run of form, you can either really rocket up the table, because really where Bournemouth is right now, you win a match or two, then you're mid-table. You're basically ninth. Everybody and we'll go this way. Ninth to the bottom, separated by 3 wins. 9 points right now. 19 points. Fulham, Brentford, Palace, 9, 10, and 11. Villa is 12th. Leicester is 13th at 17 points after their horrendous start. And I know that Nick's is probably breathing a little easier with that. Then you get into Bournemouth, Leeds, West Ham, Everton, relegation zone, Forest, Southampton, and Wolves. And so Bill Foley, in excess of 100 million pounds, managing general partner, 100% stake in the club for Maxim Demin for a little over 100 million pounds. But get this. Did you know that there is a minority ownership group led by Michael B. Jordan and Nulla Sarker? Jordan's first foray into professional sports ownerships. He and Sarker work closely with Foley in areas including global marketing and internationalization of the club. After the intention to purchase Bournemouth became clear, Foley flew back in October, and that was when we saw him at the Vitality. Home win over Leicester 2-1. He wants to expand the Vitality, which I think it's major, because it is the least number. It's the least number of seats in the Premier League right now. I mean, the Vitality is by far the smallest stadium in the Premier League, and it is a smart move for Bill Foley to expand the Vitality and get more butts in seats, frankly. Because I think it was only, 17,000? Is that the number that sticks in my head? So give me okay, so here we go. The capacity of stadiums per club, and according to our friends at Statista. Okay, great, fine. I don't care. I don't want to know. All right, so I'm not going to subscribe to your thing. All right, so here okay, so this is what happens when you have Norton. You want to try to click on something and it's blocked. But, okay, so Bournemouth's capacity, 11,364. Brentford's G-Tech is 17,225. Bournemouth's capacity, 11,364. Wow, do you need to expand? And Byrne will get into that too. No, we talked about it yesterday. But we'll talk about that too, because the Univision part was announced as well. Yeah, and Nick's, that could be very well true. Don't know how much debt they have, although Maxim Demin really did invest a lot into Bournemouth. But yeah, it could be worth more. You're assuming the debt. But yeah, I mean, right now, Michael B. Jordan, Nulla Sarker, and it looks like expand the Vitality, develop a training ground on the South Coast, January transfer window. Foley's expected to give head coach Gary O'Neill money to spend on new signings. Confirmed O'Neill's their permanent head coach last month on an 18-month deal after 12 matches in charge. Remember, he took over for Scott Parker. 11 years of Bournemouth's owner for Maxim Dement, which included League One, Premier League, less than 5. And then they've been one of those teams in that 17 to 25 range where they'll be the top end of the championship. They'll win their way back in, and then they'll pogo back and forth. So right now, return to action. Newcastle Carabao Cup on Wednesday, then travel to Chelsea on the 27th. According to our friends at Sky, Mark McAdam, Maxim Dement will go down as the greatest owner in the club's history. Not done a media interview in 11 years, which tells you about his character. Humble, hardworking man. Invested over £250 million, supported the club when it was relegated from the Premier League. So there you go. He says you don't buy a football club for in excess of £100 million if you're not planning to invest in it. Investment of the team, the academy, and all that kind of stuff. So early thoughts on that. But yeah, expanding the stadium from 11,364, that is going to be big in more than one way. Burns, since you brought it up, all right, so Burn, let's talk about this. We did not discuss the linear TV deal for Major League Soccer. We have not discussed it. We kind of talked about it a little bit yesterday, but the Univision section was the new part that we have not had the chance to add into this. Fox only, no ESPN, no Univision. And that's big. But once again, you've got Leagues Cup and all of those other elements. And it does surprise me as well that Univision is not a part of the over-the-air broadcast. But right now, what it does is it makes you wonder about the Apple TV package and what to expect from it. We are still a couple months out, and I am going to be looking forward to seeing what Apple does. I want to see how it's handled. I want to see how it's handled for the Hispanic audience, and I want to see what the plans are there. But Univision and no ESPN. ESPN is doing the USL contract on ESPN Plus, so they are not completely and totally out of anything that could be over the air. They've got a lot of their stuff on the Plus when it comes to the American soccer package, just lower divisions. Fox, we know that they are getting into the event live broadcasting when it comes to soccer as opposed to actual game of the week stuff. So I want to see how Fox handles this. And with Univision, we know what they've done with Univision, Unimas, TUDN. What's next for them? Does it go to VIX Plus? How are they handling it? But yeah, I also want to see any kind of. I want to see how Apple handles the on-the-air product, and I want to see how they handle the Hispanic market. Those are the two biggest questions I have, obviously, for the whole thing. Yeah, and you know, it is Byrne and Nick's going back and forth. Thought they wanted to make more inroads with the soccer fans. Univision actually did a good job promoting and producing the games. But yeah, no, it might have legitimately, Byrne, it might have been a price tag, and you're looking at what you would be getting from a games perspective and output. It's return on investment. Do you think that you can do the pre and the post game shows? Do you think you can put all of the content that you're looking for to satisfy any kind of an investment that you would make if you were yeah, and no, Turner, I'm right there with you. But the biggest thing is just trying to see what your return on investment was, and if Univision thought that it wasn't there, then you back away. And Turner, I'll bring last week back into this as a part of this as well. Remote broadcasting for the TV crews most of the time. Yeah, but I mean, Univision and TUDN have done a lot of remote stuff, but then for big events, they would have stuff on site. When you're not on site, and this will get into TV 101 here a little bit. There's TV down here, TV production down here. You have to have basically two separate setups of your crew that's calling the match or calling the event, plus the folks who are shooting and producing the event. So at least from my perspective with what we were doing with high school football, here's how we laid it out. We had a TV truck on site, and what we would do is we would have all of the production elements there routed through the TV truck. And it would be all the cameras, all of the audio, all the production goes, and it's fed as a normal broadcast. The only folks that aren't there are the broadcast crew. Sideline is on site, so that way you have a presence and you have that conduit from the activity that's there in the building and routed back to the studio portion of it. And then you have, in addition to the TV production element, you have all of that stuff without the talent that's there, without play-by-play and color calling it. That gets routed back to a central location. In our case, it was back to the studio. And you are basically looking at two 65-inch monitors, and you're looking at one of them has the program, because you have your control room and you have your production team there at your home location, at the home base and the home studio, and they're routing the game, and they're the ones giving you the graphics and all the other stuff. So basically, you have two separate crews that are producing. You have the on-site production crew, and they're sending everything back to the home site and the home studio, and the TV studio is, giving you the end product, because then they add play-by-play and color and studio elements and all those kinds of things that way. And so it's a lot of different moving parts, and you've got to have two separate crews in two separate locations working in absolute unison to make it be what it is. And yes, when you have play-by-play and color off-site, it does make it that much more difficult to look at penalties, look at jersey numbers, look at those kinds of things. And yeah, and we are still waiting to see what the broadcast crews are going to be and who they are going to be. But yeah, it's the energy sometimes is lost from the building if you're not there, and you have to almost act as if you're sitting in the stands from a broadcast perspective, and then give the energy that way. And so I'm looking forward to having announcers on site to see what it looks like. Yeah, and no question. And it's if one of your strategies is to increase MLS viewership in Spanish, which is what Leagues Cup is all about, you may want to overlook that aspect. But yeah, and I am looking forward to seeing what Leagues Cup looks like. That to me is another element in this. I want to see how Leagues Cup is presented. Is it all on site? Is it remote? Are the larger games, do you have folks on site? Because there were times where Telemundo did have folks on site, where TUDN did have folks on site doing games and pregame shows and things like that. But for a lot of their Liga MX matches and and for a lot of the out of market Major League Soccer stuff, it was done from studio. You didn't have you had a sideline reporter, but everybody else was back at a central location. Yeah, right. And yeah, and that's what happens. You are at the mercy of, and especially during shared productions, where you are at the mercy of the home production team, and you don't have your own feed, and so sometimes you're having to call what's being on the screen for the home side, and you're having to so there's a lot of moving parts here. So the biggest thing is, how does Apple do it, and how do they how much of it is everybody on site? Is it remote? What are we looking at here? But no, that's what we're looking at. We're still a couple months away from seeing what it looks like. So so it will be interesting in a bunch of different ways, and trying to figure out what it looks like for the new product. But yeah, Univision not doing any kind of over the air for Major League Soccer, and nothing for ESPN as well. And so so Turner, we'll see, and once again we'll see what it feels like. And that's the thing. You have so many talented individuals that just are fantastic at their job, and they can weave their way through being in a remote situation and be those storytellers. And really, those are the guys that you really look up to, because they're the ones that can convey a message as a conduit. They're not even on site, and they can sit there and look at it and go, okay, I can bring everybody with me as a part of that. And so that's the fun part there. Gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Let's get into that. And remember, Elsewhere Brewing, 1 o'clock, and a little bit of a pregame show there at Elsewhere. And come on out if you got some PTO, because it's Argentina, Croatia. It'll be fun. We'll watch the match there, and we'll figure out who makes it out of the left-hand side of the bracket to try to determine who gets to be the world's best this season. And 2 matches, one today, one tomorrow. England and Morocco is the other one. We'll get into the political overtones with Jarrett tomorrow. We can get our political discussions there done. Here's your gossip on the day. Arsenal now are your favorites to sign Joao Felix from Atletico Madrid ahead of PSG, Man United, and Aston Villa. That's from Marca. A good chance Arsenal will be able to sign Mykhailo Mudryk in January for less than the £86 million Shakhtar Donetsk previously wanted for the 21-year-old. Dario Serna, I think it was Ben Jacobs at CBS, caught up with Dario Serna, the sporting director, and Serna said they're going to have to pay a lot of money. And I think Serna was looking, the number that Serna posted was £100 million. And that's a number that you post. But there's talk that they could probably accept somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 for Mykhailo Mudryk if Arsenal can make that dive and chase after somebody that they really, really want. And we got to see Mudryk in the Euros, and we got to see him in the group stage, in the qualifying stage, just how incredibly talented Mykhailo Mudryk is. So probably somewhere in the 60 neighborhood for Shakhtar Donetsk if they're going to let Mudryk go. Liverpool have an agreement in principle with Benfica to sign Enzo Fernandez. We get to see him today. That's from La Capitale. An alternative for Real Madrid, Fernandez is, if they cannot sign their main target, Jude Bellingham, for Borussia Dortmund next season. That's for Sport. Football Association want Gareth Southgate to continue as England manager despite gauging former Chelsea boss Thomas Tuchel's interest in the job before the World Cup. That's from Bild in Germany. And it looked like Gareth Southgate was letting players know kind of that he was hanging around. He's hinting at staying. According to Rob Dorsett over at Sky, it looked like he was, he said that before the squad left for Qatar, this is Rob, despite the disappointment of being knocked out, he wanted to speak personally with those players who felt that they were surplus to requirements and reassure them about the future. The fact that the manager wanted to counsel some of the squad's fringe players about their England futures. When their own future is so uncertain is significant. This is what happens when you have ads pop up and the thing continues to slide. Obvious question would be, why would Southgate try to reassure the likes of James Maddison, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and a lot of other players, Connor Cody, Conor Gallagher, two unused keepers, Nick Pope and Aaron Ramsdale, that they still have a role to play for England if the manager himself was planning to resign? Dorsett posits if he's serious about leaving, he could not offer such guarantees to players who would then be looking to impress a New England manager. Southgate last spoke to the media on Saturday following the defeat at France. He's told his bosses at the FA he needs some time to reflect before discussing his future with them. And Paul Merson, in his latest Sky column, he said, why would Southgate walk from England? I hope Gareth Southgate doesn't go. Heard him say he's fed up with all the criticism that comes with the job, but it's no worse than the criticism that comes with managing a club. But yeah, and Southgate has even said he wants to get back into the club game. So we'll keep an eye on that. FA will consider foreign candidates if Southgate stands down as England manager. That's from the Telegraph. They see Leicester City's Northern Irish boss Brendan Rodgers as a leading candidate, but not Frank Lampard or Steven Gerrard. That is from one of the 4-letter papers, so take that information at your own peril. Brazil want Carlo Ancelotti to succeed Tite as coach following their World Cup exit, and informally approached the Real Madrid boss back in October. That's from UOL Esporte. Leicester City braced for Arsenal to make a final attempt to sign Yuri Tielemans before he becomes a free agent in the summer. Chelsea have opened talks to sign Germany striker Yusufa Moukoko, 18 on a free from Borussia Dortmund in July. That comes from Nicolas Schira. PSG interested in signing Ousmane Dembele from Barcelona. That's from El Nacional. AC Milan are in talks with Chelsea. Manchester United target Rafael Leao about a contract extension and are calm about whether the Portugal forward will sign a new deal. It's from Gazzetta dello Sport. Manchester United will activate contract options for David De Gea, Luke Shaw, and Fred, as well as Marcus Rashford and Diogo Dalot. That's from the Manchester Evening News. Leeds are plotting a January move for PSV Eindhoven's Germany left-back Philipp Max, who is 29 years old. Keep an eye on Matthias Klick and DC United as well. Looks like both of those parties are still in discussions about having Klick come over and be a part for DC United. Wilfried Zaha looks likely to leave Crystal Palace on a free when the Ivory Coast's forward contract expires next summer. That's from Fabrizio Romano. Sevilla want Isco to leave in January, just 5 months after signing him from Real Madrid. Bayern Munich closing in on a deal to sign Konrad Leimer on a transfer on a free from RB Leipzig next summer. Spurs set for fresh talks with Antonio Conte this week over a new long-term contract. That's from our friends at The Athletic. Luis Enrique wants to return to a club job after leaving his role as Spain coach. Ex-Tottenham and PSG manager Mauricio Pochettino has told friends he's keen on the Chelsea job if it were to become available, according to our friends at Football Insider. Amazon are the latest company to be linked with buying Manchester United, but the Glazers' asking price of about £7 billion is believed to be unrealistic by industry experts. That is also from a four-letter paper, so take that information at your own risk. Aston Villa boss Unai Emery interested in bringing in Netherlands winger Ono Danjuma and Senegalese midfielder Nicholas Jackson from his former club Villarreal. PSV Eindhoven director of football Marcel Brands says that 23-year-old Netherlands winger Cody Gakpo could be sold in January, but only for a club record fee. No surprise. Chelsea target Rafael Leao unwilling to renew his contract with AC Milan as the Portugal forward wants more than the reported €7 million a year the Italian side is offering, and that is from our friends at Sky Germany. Interesting piece of news that came out early this morning. Jose Mourinho has been offered the Portugal job, according to Gazzetta dello Sport. The Italian newspaper says Mourinho will be able to stay on his role as Roma boss while taking the managerial reins for Portugal in a part-time capacity. It would effectively mean Mourinho's combining his club duties with Roma and managing his country. Mourinho is understood to be intrigued by the prospect. Lille owner, Luxembourg-based investment firm Merlin Partners is seeking to secure control of Sampdoria in what would be the largest takeover of an Italian club by a private equity investor. Currently second bottom in Serie A, Sampdoria enjoyed their heyday in the early 90s when the Genoa-based club secured their sole national title with Vialli and Roberto Mancini. They've been for sale since the start of the year as part of a process aimed at repaying creditors of the club's former chair and owner who's been involved in a case of alleged bankruptcy. A trustee has been looking after the sale process of the club for a year with investment bank Lazard acting as advisor. No deal has been struck so far. Erling Haaland's dad, Alfie, gets the sense his son would like to prove that he can win in any major league. In an interview with DAZN, Alfie Haaland said, "The impression I have is that he, Erling, wants to show that he can win in any top league. Spent 2.5 years in Germany. Could do something like that in the future. 3 years in the Prem, then go to Italy, Spain, or France." Also adding, he has not yet decided anything, but it is a possibility that he also wants to win in another league. But he also may be at City for 15 years because he's happy, and it's a great club. So that's a non-committal or a non-denial denial from Alfie Haaland about his son and his future. Mentioned the options of players at Erik ten Hag. Morocco midfielder Sofiane Amrabat has a big chance of getting a Premier League move after lighting up the World Cup, according to journalist Amin El Amri. Not kidding. Amrabat has been amazing in this tournament. Facing France on Wednesday, likely to receive offers. Fiorentina is for the player in January, with Spurs and Liverpool among those having previously expressed an interest, according to reports. El Amri suggested the 26-year-old's nearing a switch to England following his World Cup displays. Barcelona is monitoring, speaking of Morocco, they're interested in signing Azzedine Ounahi from Angers, according to L'Equipe. Impressed from Morocco with the World Cup, see him as an ideal candidate to strengthen their squad in January. Let's see what else is up this morning. We mentioned Luis Enrique. Valencia willing to listen to offers of north of $21 million US for Yunus Musa, according to reports. Already on Arsenal's target list after the Premier League leaders sent scouts to monitor him, but Liverpool and Chelsea have now joined the race. So we'll keep an eye on Yunus Musa possibly getting another gig. Brazil will attempt to sound out Manchester City boss Pep Guardiola on his plans for the future as they look for a replacement for Tite, according to reports in South America. This is from the Daily Express. Kyle Walker could be the first member of England's World Cup squad to confirm his retirement from the international game. The Mirror. Arsenal set to rekindle their interest in Barcelona striker Ferran Torres after missing out on a bid to sign him over the summer. Let's see, avoiding the 3- and 4-letter papers as we always do. Liverpool's smash-in-the-face injury to Luis Diaz could see the striker sidelined for 3 months. Josip Juranovic, the Celtic defender, has stopped all transfer talk as he chases a World Cup dream in Croatia. According to Metro, William Gallas has urged Chelsea to pull out all the stops in their efforts to sign Cristiano Ronaldo to keep him in the Premier League. Good luck on that. Todd Bowley likes that idea. We'll see what happens there. Of course, if you got $225 million staring at you for 3 years, CR37 might go that way. Daily Mail, we avoid the 4-letter paper and see what else is going on. Guardian, a security worker at the World Cup in Qatar, is in intensive care after falling from what has been described as a significant height after the Argentina-Netherlands match. And in the Scottish papers, Rangers flop Carlos Pena set to retire from professional football after being released from his latest club in Honduras, CD Vida, after only 5 appearances. And Connor Goldson could return this week for Rangers. So that is your gossip, rumor, and innuendo from all around everywhere. And you guys got into the discussion about on-site, off-site broadcasters. And yeah, Burn, to your point, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the real Univision story was. Did MLS want too much money? Did Univision not value the property anymore? Still, it is a weird strategy, no doubt. And Nick's obviously, yeah, without on-site broadcasters, you're describing the picture on screen. With them, add to and enhance what you're seeing in a way that you can't replicate. Amen. So that's what we're staring at with all of that stuff. And there was one other story that I wanted to get into before we go, and it has to do with Iran. And one story, it appears, and this is various newspapers, FIFPro came out with a statement yesterday. FIFPro is shocked and sickened by the reports that professional footballer Amir Nasser Azadani faces execution in Iran after campaigning for women's rights and basic freedom in his country. We stand in solidarity with Amir and call for the immediate removal of his punishment. Widespread and FIFPro is called for the punishment to be revoked. Obviously, widespread anti-government protests in Iran sparked by the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who died in custody back in September, having been detained for allegedly failing to follow the country's Islamic dress code. FIFPro had that statement out yesterday that we just read. So when we know more, obviously, we'll let you know more. But yeah, you want to sentence someone. Yeah, facing execution for campaigning for women's rights. Nick made the point that the country ought to have the hammer dropped on it if this does come to pass, and even for having this kind of a thought. So, just wanted to let you guys know about that with what's going on with the state of affairs, sadly, in Iran this morning. So. Let's see. Recapping, just remember Gyasi Zardes once again signing with Austin. And we got to discuss the ongoing sagas with the USMNT. Hopefully that ends with 2 days of discussions there. Remember, Elsewhere Brewing, 1 o'clock. We're going to be there kind of hanging out, getting ready for the Argentina-Croatia match. Let me double check our juice boxes really quickly and see if anything has changed before we go. And the answer is slightly. Argentina is down to a minus 111. So margins are starting to close up a little bit. Argentina minus 111. 90-minute draws a plus 231. That's kind of where I'm leaning. I think Argentina, though, wins it in extra time. Croatia to win in 90 minutes is a plus 382. Tomorrow, early numbers, early juice box for your 2 o'clock with France and Morocco. France is a minus 185. Your 90-minute draw, which is kind of where I'm leaning here as well, is a plus 293. Morocco is a plus 642. So that's where you are with that. But everybody, that's a Tuesday. If I miss something, come on and bring it back into the discussions tomorrow. It'll be a Wall Pass Wednesday where we will look back at Argentina, Croatia, get you ready for France and Morocco. Jared will discuss the politics of everything that's involved there as well. And remember, J.J. Adams from the Province newspaper will discuss the new Canadian Women's League and everything else going on up there. Post that hopefully later on this afternoon, and it'll be good to catch up with J.J. about everything going on north of the border. So for everybody here at SDH, that's your Tuesday Thoughts. Thank you for your Tuesday Thoughts, and we'll do Wall Pass Wednesday tomorrow, and we'll probably go off the rails again like we always do, as we do here at Soccer's Morning Show. I'm just John, for Jason, for Jarrett, for Nick. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha platial. And since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this. We'll see it elsewhere, and we'll see you in the morning. Take it easy.